C- Can you identify yourself? Because those of us online can't see you.
Yes, I'm Jalen Bonet from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I'm the new employee here at the Economic Development Corporation in Michigan City.
Yay. Yay. Any other visitors?
Oh, no.
No.
Continue.
Continue. Thank you. No other visitors. Okay. Let's start with club news, and I'm going to start with don't forget that we are striving for every Rotarian every year donation to our foundation. So please keep that in your giving, kind of the back of your mind in terms of your giving, that we each make a donation to the Rotary Foundation. Is there any other Rotary news?
Okay, yes, there is some more news. Jim Welborn, president, Michigan City Rotary Club.
Thank you, KP. All I want to say is that make sure you go to the website and you look up where you can donate for the Feed the Pig campaign to help money to raise for Thanksgiving dinners. Also, there's a link in there to donate for Boo at the Zoo at the same time. So make sure you get to the website or your latest newsletter, and the links will be there in the president's message. So, because there will be description of what's going on in both those episodes, both those things too. The Boo at the Zoo and the Thanksgiving dinner. Matt, do you have anything to say about
Well, yes, I do.
Polio Plus?
Polio Plus, World Polio Day is October 24th. We've got, let's see, we have a website in process. Should be up by tonight or tomorrow, not a website, a Facebook page. I'm working with Rick Federici on WIMS to confirm an interview date that would be Pastor Carol and myself and Rick for an online long interview, which will be played on WIMS multiple times. So we're in progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Hey, Matt, this is Lance Warner.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to mention that we're looking for another board member for the Rotary Club. So if anyone's interested, especially to help in the social media area, to please contact myself or Jim Welborn. But Marty Corley has stepped off the board, and he used to help me with the social media. So if anyone's interested, please let me know. Thank you.
Now, are we in the room, Matt? Go to the order.
Go to the order. Let's actually what we did last week online worked out really well, and so we actually went to each person just to have a little check-in, even if it's just to say hello. So let's start with the people that are online. But before I go to you, I actually have a little question for each of you that you need to answer. So, Lance, welcome to Rotary.
Thank you.
Matt, get closer to the mic, please.
Thank you. How's that? Much better. So, Lance, what do ghosts serve for dessert?
I don't know. What's the answer?
Ice cream.
I love it.
That's great.
Okay, Lance, how you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm fine. Anything for the good of the order?
I just wanted to recognize that my wife and I are celebrating 25 years on Saturday. So we're going to go out for a very nice dinner, but we had planned a trip to Iceland to celebrate our anniversary, but unfortunately this year we won't be able to do it. But hopefully in a future year, we'll be able to go on a fantastic trip for our anniversary. Thank you.
All right,
I want to
Deb.
remind everyone who's online to be very mic aware. We are using a loudspeaker to listen to your comments. But if you're away from the mic, it's difficult with the ambient noise. Thank you.
Deb, you want to unmute? And your question is, why was the baby ghost sad?
Oh, I think it's because he got a boo-boo.
Oh, that's a good one. I'll take that answer.
What's the real answer?
He wanted his mummy.
Oh, that's cute. I don't think I have any real updates. Things are going fine. If I'm unmuted, you will probably get to hear my two loud dogs saying hello to the Amazon or mail lady. But so I'll stay mostly muted. But welcome, nice to see everyone. Hi, Ron. Looking forward to your presentation. And that's it.
Okay, Kara, if you'd like to unmute. And your question is, what are the birds giving out for Halloween this year? Is Kara there? Kara Jones, you want to unmute? All right, we'll move on. We'll move on to Jennifer Heath, who just joined in the room. Jennifer, you want to unmute?
Certainly.
Nice to see you.
And nice to see you as well.
We're gonna give you the same question. What are the birds giving out for Halloween this year?
What are the birds giving out for Halloween this year? I'm not quite sure how to answer that.
Well, I think it's just like our president. They're giving out tweets.
Wow.
You have anything for the good of the order?
I actually just got finished with the ribbon cutting for the new recovery center. That's a joint collaboration between Swanson Center and Porter Services in LaPorte. It has a medication-assisted treatment program for people who are fighting addictions. Most focus is on opioid, of course, but it's a great program, and we're thrilled to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. Now, if we could go around the table, and I really can't see who's there. So if you could identify yourself, and I'll give you a question.
Please identify yourself to the online crowd.
This is Caitlin Wisser.
Well, Caitlin, what did one jack-o'-lantern say to the other jack-o'-lantern on their way to the party?
I'm not sure.
They said, "Hey, let's get." They said, "Hey, let's get this party glowing."
That's funny. Nothing for the good of the order. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. Next.
Hi, Matt. Pastor Carroll here.
Hi. How do you make a skeleton laugh?
You're going to have to be a little bit clearer on that. I got my hearing aids not in. My glasses are fogging up.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the answer. You make a skeleton laugh by tickling its funny bone.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Okay. Anything for the good of the order?
I didn't catch that. Oh, announcement. Well, I think we did the Post Polio Plus, and Matt's mentioned it on WIMS, and it looks like they're getting it quite together. I'm very pleased with it, and Jim Scott and the rest of them that have joined in, and thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it very much, and to have a good fundraiser.
Excellent.
All right.
Who's moving on to the next person?
It's John Wendell.
Hi, John.
Yeah.
How do you make a witch itch?
I won't say what I was going to say.
Well, you take away the W, of course.
Oh, I think my response would have been better, Matt.
Was it clean?
No, it wasn't. Okay, I got $2 here. One, because I missed your question. Two, it's my birthday week. I'm celebrating it. And the third dollar is just because.
Excellent. Congratulations.
It's Jessica O'Brien.
Hi, Jessica.
Hey, Matt.
Who did
You ready for
Frankenstein? Who did Frankenstein take to the party?
No idea.
He took his ghoul friend.
Of course. Look at the order. I have $5 for my good friend Ron Haig, our speaker today. And feed the pig. Don't forget, please.
That's all we.
This is Jenny Lee Haynes Peterson.
Hi.
Hi, Matt.
What do baby ghosts wear on their feet?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure.
They wear booties.
Ah. I have $2 today for City Pride. Tomorrow is homecoming-ish day for Michigan City High School, and wear your Wolves colors. Wear your blue.
Nice. How are we doing? Anywhere else? We haven't done Jim Wellborn. Is that Jim Scott?
Jim Scott himself.
Well, Jim, how do you mend a broken jack-o'-lantern?
Mend a broken jack-o'-lantern by sticking the plugs back in, I guess.
No, you mend it with a pumpkin patch.
Oh my God. Well, I tell you, I've got $5 for our guest and our honored speaker. We welcome them. And what the heck? We've avoided COVID so far.
Kyle Pierre got 4.
I think we got everybody but Jim Wellborn. Oh no, who's up?
Kyle Pierre, not 4.
Ah, yes, KP.
Present.
KP, my dear friend. Why did the vampires cancel their baseball games?
Why did the vampires cancel the baseball game? Yeah.
Well,
Jim Wellborn's giving me a hint, but I'm still not getting it. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
well, because they couldn't find their bats, of course.
Because they couldn't find their bats. I should have known. Well, I too am glad to see everyone out here today, both online and in person. Yeah, I want to believe we can look at this pandemic as a blessing, as an opportunity to improve ourselves, and so yeah, we remain positive. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the good
Right.
words.
So I do, Jim Wellborn reminded me, we had our quarterly foundation meeting this morning.
Nice.
And like Lance Warner, we want to treat those present, both in person and online, to consider being foundation board members. I'll remind you that we have an excess of $200,000 in our endowment, and we try to find ways to both offer service, but most importantly, improve the community through expenditure of funds, disbursement of funds, and relationships. So if you're interested, please find a way to contact me, most easily through Jim Wellborn at president@mcrotary.org. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Jim Wellborn, you didn't get your question.
All right. I guess you can give me a question.
All right. Where do the baby ghosts go during the day?
All right. I give up.
Okay, they go to the day scare center.
All right. Well, my good of the order for today is I'm glad to see that we have our first hybrid meeting kind of working okay. I think we're going to get it down pretty good. I do want to say that happily today I have turned 76 as of today. So that makes me now the oldest member of Rotary ever, I think. So that's oh, no, Jim Scott's got it on me. So there you go. Okay, thanks a lot. That's all I got, Matt.
Okay, well, thank you to everyone. I think that was really fun. Let's move on to our speaker. Is that right, Jim?
That is correct.
Jessica, you can a wipe. Let me have a wipe. Wipe this thing down.
So our speaker today is, like I said already, a good friend of mine, Ron Heeg. He is Chief Deputy for the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department. I don't remember off the top of my head how many years he has on, but it's more than 20 from what in his 24th year with the Sheriff's Department. Shameless plug, he's also a good supporter of the Salvation Army, volunteering at our food pantry and supporting our events. So thank you, Ron, for coming here today.
Thank you.
So why don't you just talk here and I'll point that camera.
Great. That's much better for me. I was originally told I was going to have to stand behind the podium, and I'm not much of a stander. I'm a walker and I'm a mover, and I use my hands a lot to animate and that. Well, thank you for having me here today. Again, I'm Ron Heeg. I'm the Chief Deputy at the Sheriff's Office. This month, I start my 24th year at the Sheriff's Office. I kind of started at the Sheriff's Office years ago as a college intern when I was at Indiana University of South Bend, where I received my degree in criminal justice. I kind of started working part-time at the Sheriff's Office while I was doing an internship and going to IUSB and finishing up. I can remember vividly, I was working afternoons at the Sheriff's Office. I was going to school in the morning, and the time change allowed me to do that because I got to come back an hour and make sure I got to the Sheriff's Office when I finished my class because of the time difference. So that kind of helped me to do both at the same time. And I just finished my very last class at IU South Bend, and I had to get into work. And then I was 20 years old, and as I come into work, the officer I was relieving working the desk said, "The sheriff wants to see you." That's never a good sign when you come into work as a 20-year-old kid. I'll say kid then, and you get told you got to go down to the sheriff's office because he wants to see you. So I go down to the sheriff's office, and he says, "I understand today's your last day." And I kind of looked at him and I said, "Well, I was hoping my career at the sheriff's office would be a little bit longer than this. But I suppose if you say so, okay." He says, "No, today was your last day at school." And I says, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." He goes, "Good, you start full-time tomorrow." And I've been with sheriff's office ever since. So for those who want to know if I'm going to sit up here and drone on for the next 2 hours, you're in luck. I am not. Jessica has only told me I've got an hour and a half. And I used that at the last time when I spoke at the Door Village Lions Club. It was a couple of weeks ago. And I had no intention of being up there much longer than 20, 30 minutes, given my spiel. But after I got done, everybody had questions. And I love questions. I'll sit and answer questions all day long. So if you've got some questions, get them ready. We'll get to them eventually. And then after we got done answering questions, it was about 2 hours had gone up. So I did go the 2 hours. Not to my wanting, but it did. So Matt out there, I have a question for you and for any of the Rotaries out there. Does anybody know how much the sheriff's office spends of taxpayers' dollars every year? Does anybody want to take a guess? How much money does the sheriff's office spend of taxpayers' money every year? Don't be shy. Not everybody speak up at once. Jessica, you want to take a guess? Okay, got $1 million. Okay. You know, I had somebody else say that exact same answer when I spoke to the Quanians in LaPorte about a month ago. That's not the correct answer, but she said the same thing. She thought it was a trick question. How much did you say? 50? Not quite 50 million. The sheriff's office spends on average about $12 million of LaPorte County taxpayers, your money, every year. And the goal is to do it as efficiently and effectively as possible. And that's my job as being chief deputy. I'm in charge of that $12 million budget, and that's key. And I'm going to highlight some of the steps that we've taken as your chief deputy that we're going to save the taxpayers' money, and we've already begun to spend the taxpayers' money. Yes, sir. Yeah. That does go to the jail, and I'll get to that. Okay. The sheriff's office employs about 174 employees, and it's divided into 3 major operations. The first operation, the biggest operation that you really don't see a lot of, but you hear a lot of, and that's the county jail. The county jail takes up about 60 to 65% of that $12 million. This morning's count in the county jail for inmates was 298 people, which is down considerably. And we've kept it down, and we tried to bring it down because of COVID. Prior going into COVID, we were over the 400 mark. Our capacity in the county jail is 368. We were running about 405, 410, but we've been able to bring it down, gotten people out of the county jail that doesn't belong in the county jail. First of the year, we implemented statewide. It's called Criminal Rule 26. I won't get into that because I'll be here all day about it. But what it does is it releases a lot of your first-time, very low-level offenders. And when I first got put onto the committee 2 years ago to implement this Criminal Rule 26, I was absolutely dead set against it. I'm a police officer. That's what I do for a living. I lock people up. And then you're going to tell me that we're going to start releasing these people? But once I got to learn Criminal Rule 26 and really get involved on this committee, I love the facts of Criminal Rule 26. I'm an avid supporter of it and a big proponent of it. So that's been able to bring our inmate population down. Like I said, this morning's count was 298. We were down to about 250, 260 at the beginning of COVID, and that allows us to have some cell blocks open if we have to isolate or quarantine anybody who comes in positive test. To this date, knock on wood, we've had 0 positive tests of COVID come into the LaPorte County Jail. And it's basically because of the hard work of the men and women who work in the county jail who have taken a strong, proactive approach about that to make sure we keep it out. We served last year 468,000 meals in the county jail. We get fed 3 times a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have a kitchen crew that works 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We had almost 6,000 people processed through the county jail, either being arrested and being brought in last year. Trying to think of a couple other facts about the jail. Well, I'll move on. Our second operation of the sheriff's office, which is probably the most visible, is our law enforcement operation of the sheriff's office, the second biggest as well. It consists of 64 merit officers or police officers who are certified police officers to the state of Indiana. And that's kind of divided into 3 groups as well. Your administration, which I belong into, our biggest patrol division, who there's 43 patrol officers that answers on average about 30,000 calls a year for service. And then you have our detective bureau who investigate burglaries, robberies, homicides, and everything in between, your major felony cases. We have a patrol fleet of 75 vehicles. And that leads me into my next operation, our civil side or civil operations, which includes our mechanics. We have 4 full-time mechanics that operate on our vehicles and work on our vehicles. And then it includes like our records clerks, our secretaries, and everyone else. And again, that rounds out to about 174 employees at the sheriff's office. I've been accused of being efficient when I talk because I like to cut straight to the point, and I'm okay with that because with my efficiency, it has helped me and helped us really streamline the budget at the sheriff's office. And going in there, I said, what can we do to make things better at the sheriff's office and to be efficient, to better use that $12 million a year? One of the first steps we took is we privatized the kitchen. We used to have a full-time cook, several part-time employees, and then we had to bring all the food in and cook it. Now we privatize it and outsource it, and that project alone has saved the county $500,000 a year in expenditures. The next project that we worked on was same thing, privatizing the jail medical. We used to hire full-time nurses and who used to do everything. We outsourced it through a company, and that project alone has saved us $500,000 a year. So we're up to $1 million in savings already. The second biggest project that I worked on this year, which I've been working on this for quite a long time to try to make it happen. And one thing I've learned in county government and government as a whole, it moves very slow. And I don't move slow. I'm going, and I want things to happen now and move on to the next project. But government operations move very slow. And I guess there's a reason for it with checks and balances and stuff like that. And I get that. But I got thinking one day, I says, because our patrol guys and gas for our cars, we used to get it at one location in the east side of LaPorte at Rackham Services. I don't know if anybody knows where Rackham Services is. It's on the east side of LaPorte. And I got thinking one day, how much gas are we wasting just to go get gas? Seriously, think about it for a second. You got an officer who lives in Michigan City, has to drive all the way to the east end of LaPorte just to turn around, drive back to Michigan City to work the district. Or you got a guy who lives in southern LaPorte County, same thing, got to drive all the way to the east side of LaPorte. And has anybody been down Lincoln Way on a Friday afternoon about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon in rush hour? It'd take you 40 minutes just to get down Lincoln Way. So I got thinking, okay, we have between the day shift, the afternoon shift, and the midnight shift, we've got about 20 cars, 24 cars, patrol cars on the streets throughout the 24 hours. If we could just save 1 gallon per car per day for 365 days, we could save $25,000 a year in our fuel budget. And I didn't include us administrators. I didn't include the detectives or some of the other personnel that we have at the sheriff's office. I just took our patrol division and that. And I know from years past on a busy afternoon shift in the middle of summer, sometimes I'd have to fill up twice. So that's 2 trips. And you run a squad car with the air conditioning in the middle of summer trying to get in the east end of LaPorte, you could use more than 1 gallon of gas, using 2, 3, 4 gallons of gas just to get gas. So I said, how efficient is that? It's not. So this spring, we moved to a fuel fleet card that allows us to get gas at any Speedway or any Family Express in the county, which most of them are open 24 hours for our operations. So that really helps out. It's been hard to tell how successful it's been so far this year because of COVID. We saw record low gas prices in the spring. And we don't pay at the sheriff's office because we don't pay any taxes on the fuel. We don't pay what you see on the marquee. We pay about $1 or less than what you see on the marquee because we don't pay any taxes. But with gas prices being low, it's hard to tell. But we have seen a decrease in gallons of gas being used already. Albeit small, we've seen a small savings already. It's going to be hard to tell how much dollars and cents because with gas prices being down to $1.80, $1.65 sometimes this spring versus the normal $2.25, $2.40, $2.55 that we seen in years past. So That's kind of large, broad spectrum of the sheriff's office. And again, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer it. My next question for you guys is, does anybody know what the two biggest issues are facing law enforcement in LaPorte County? Two biggest issues. The two biggest issues affecting law enforcement in LaPorte County. All the above. All the above, yep, that we deal with on a daily basis. Drugs is one. Yep. That's probably number 3. That's right up there as well. And I'm sitting here thinking, because the first one just left my mind. But they go hand in hand. They really do. You're correct. The second one's mental health. And they'll goes hand in hand. The drug abuse and the mental health go hand in hand. And I'll tell you why. A year or two ago, we had a huge heroin problem in LaPorte County that everybody read about it on a daily basis. We still have a heroin problem, but it's not as big and prevalent as it used to be. We've seen a switch over to crystal meth. And it's all about supply and demand. Crystal meth has invaded us from the east out of South Bend, and it literally, we traced it back straight from the cartels in Mexico. Comes right up to South Bend, comes in from the east end, and it's very cheap. It's cheaper than heroin. And not only that, your addicts or your users realize it's safer to use than heroin as well, because you don't get that overdose. You don't die from it immediately like you do heroin. The addiction is still there. The trouble or the dangers of it is not quite as bad. So we've seen a decrease in the overdoses. However, they go in spurts. We'll go a while without any, and all of a sudden we'll see 3, 4, 5 of them in one night. And that drug dealer who sold these drugs, he just became the hottest guy and the most popular guy on the block, because his drugs are that powerful. They're that good, because if you've got 3 or 4 people overdosing on them, that's some good stuff. And now everybody wants to go buy his drugs, believe it or not, knowing that the risk is you're going to overdose and die. Because with heroin, it's a very addictive drug. You use it one time, you're addicted to it for the rest of your life. No questions asked, you'll battle that addiction. But your body becomes and builds up a tolerance to heroin, and you get that first initial high. And when I was a detective and interviewing people, they would say, officer, you don't understand. That first initial high of heroin is like the best fresh of breath air that you ever wanted to take. It's like you're in the best dream, the best anything you ever wanted to take. And they want to chase that. They want that best fresh of breath air in their life, and they want to chase it. The problem is the body starts to build up a tolerance. They meet here, and then they come here, and they don't quite get that high. So what do? They start using more, and that's when they end up overdosing. Or you get the kid that goes away and gets clean, is gone for 3, 4 months and gets clean and comes back. Well, he ends up in the same environment that he left, hangs out with the same friends, the same users, the same partiers. And what happens after being clean 3 or 4 months? He doesn't have that tolerance. So he says, oh yeah, I'll take some, because he gets with the same crowd again, and the addiction's still there, ends up shooting with the same amount that he used to have, doesn't quite have the tolerance, and he overdoses. And then the next is mental health I talked about. And they go hand in hand because we see a lot of people who self-medicate. They go out and buy heroin, or they buy meth to do their troubles. And we see this especially a lot in young females who have been physically, sexually, and emotionally abused by a boyfriend, a father figure, or somewhere, and they've got all this emotional issues going on, and they can't afford to go see a doctor and get prescribed medicine, or they can't afford their medicine. So what do? They self-medicate. So the drug abuse and the mental health really go hand in hand, in regards to all that. And then the second is you're right, or the third is you're right, is domestic violence. So, and that's just, it's very hard for that because a lot of people keep it in-house and behind closed doors. It's hard to be proactive for domestic violence because of just that. It's in people's private homes, and a lot of people won't report domestic violence that goes on out there. It's more prevalent than you think. So I'll probably think of others as we go here, but does anybody have any questions? Jessica. That's a good question. COVID, when we first was introduced with COVID back in early March, our calls for service plummeted. We saw 80% reductions in our calls for service with COVID because everybody was staying inside, everybody was staying home. You couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't go down to the local tavern and get a snootful and then go out and raise some ruckus. You couldn't drive because you couldn't go anywhere. So our calls for service really plummeted. And there's sometimes we saw an 80% reduction. Now, when the restrictions started to lift back in late April, early May, can you guess what happened? People went wild. They skyrocketed. And we did a calls for service comparison for the first 6 months of last year, of 2019. And then we did a calls for service comparison for the first 6 months of this year. And even with the lockdown, we were less than 1% less this year than we were last year. Because leading into COVID and after COVID, everybody just went crazy and it hasn't let up. I mean, we've gone through the entire summer and our numbers were just unbelievable. It was a very busy summer for the sheriff's office, and not just for the sheriff's office, your local police departments as well, and across the nation just saw this. Everybody just had a cabin fever, and they were paroled from prison, and they were partying, and you weren't going to stop them because they were locked up for 2 months. So, yep, absolutely. Yes, sir. Right. And we get asked, the question was when these people overdose and we deal with them, do we arrest them or do we take them to rehab? And we get asked that question a lot. And that's a very good question. The ultimate goal is to get them clean. Okay. You're not going to go in there and as they're in the hospital or recovering, haul them off to the county jail. The goal, because you're not going to get clean in the county jail. You'll be clean while you're in there, but you're not going to get anything or any services to keep you clean after the fact. So the ultimate goal is to get you clean. Second of all, our drug task force unit wants to talk to you. They want to know where you're getting it from, how much you're using, how much you're paying, because they want to go after the bigger fish, right? Because you're just using just to use because you're addicted. You're not selling it because you're buying it from somebody. So they want to use you. How friendly and how conducive are you going to want to talk to the police if we haul you now to the county jail? You're not going to talk, are you? No, because you're locking me up in jail. You're going to tell us to pack sand. So the goal is to be able to use you, get your information, and to get you clean. Yeah, otherwise, you're just going to be a revolving door coming in and out every time. Because the minute you get out, you're going to go right back into your same environment and start using again. So, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one, and that's a good one. Indiana will be one of the very last states to ever legalize marijuana. When I first started the sheriff's office years ago and first got out in the patrol and was working the streets and was stopping people and arresting, marijuana and alcohol drunk driving were our two biggest issues that we faced in the county then. How nice would that to go back to that? Marijuana and drunk driving was 24 years ago in LaPorte County. And now we've got what we just talked about, mental health and drugs are the biggest issues. Indiana has kind of relaxed the laws a little bit about it. You need a much more greater volume of marijuana to be able to be charged with it and stuff like that. But it makes it difficult when our neighbors to the north and our neighbors to the west of us have legalized it. Now, if my personal opinion, we talk about medicinal purposes up in Michigan and over in Illinois, that's a scam. Anytime you can go into a storefront dispensary and basically shop for your type of marijuana, that's not medicinal use, that's personal use, and that's using it, and that's a scam of the loophole. Medicinal means you go to a doctor and he prescribes it. You take that prescription to a pharmacy, well, they will fill it. And then you can go take your marijuana. If we ever decide to go to medical use, that's not, that's a scam, if you ask me, by going to these storefronts and these dispensaries and shop for your marijuana. I don't buy it as that being medicinal. Yes, sir. Right. And that's another good question, because that was a topic that was brought up just last week at the Lions Club when I spoke to them. Locally here, no, we have not. We have a great community. LaPorte County as a whole, includes Michigan City and LaPorte, are very, very, very supportive of their law enforcement, of their emergency services. And we cherish that. And we don't want to do anything to harm that relationship that we've built with the community. And I've said it before, I live in LaPorte County. 99% of all police officers live in LaPorte County. My kids go to school in LaPorte County. I shop in LaPorte County, and we grocery shop. We dine out in LaPorte County. I have just as much invested in this community than everyone else here. They want a good quality of life. They want the law enforcement to be good. So do I. Just because I'm a police officer doesn't mean I don't want what's best for my kids. And all the police officers are truly out there trying to do the right thing and go out and do a good job. Now, are there a few bad apples? Absolutely. But we don't want them there more than anyone else wants them there. We try to weed them out as fast as possible. I've always said there's bad doctors. They get weeded out. There's bad attorneys. There's bad mechanics. There's bad teachers. There's just name any profession, and you'll see that. And then the goal is to get them weeded out and move on and continue to do good, because 99% of all police officers go out and do a marvelous job day in and day out. You never hear any of the good, but it takes one, and we've been seeing that. I'm not saying that we're not above board and there shouldn't be reform or there shouldn't be improvement, because there's always room for improvement. You always want to strive to improve it and make things better. And I had a lady ask me about my thoughts of defunding the police. And I said, well, that's a horrible, horrible term, to defund the police. And I don't know if anybody knows the reality or the meaning when they brought up the word defund the police. Barack Obama, when he was president, said, our police have too much put on their plate. We need to take some of off their plate, such as some of the mental health issues and some of the drug issues, and get these people the services they need versus locking them up and allowing the police to deal with them. So people says, yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Let's start taking money away from the police and put it toward mental health and rehab services. The problem is they never give us any additional monies prior to that to support these services. Matter of fact, our budget at the sheriff's office, at least in the last 6 years that I've been in charge of it, has either decreased or stayed the same. So they've never given, they may have given like New York Police Department, Chicago, your big what I call billion-dollar police departments that have billion-dollar budgets. They may have given them extra money to create a division for domestic violence or a division for mental health and drug use in these police departments. But your local police departments and your smaller departments, we never saw any extra money for all these additional services we have to provide. So how can you take away from something we never had to begin with? So that's the theory and the principle behind defund the police, was to take some of these responsibilities off the police departments, put them where they belong, and allow police officers to be police officers. But they never give us any money prior for this, so you can't take what we don't have, and it's tough. So, any other questions?
This is Lance Warner.
Yeah, Lance.
Hey, I was wondering in regards to body cameras. I know the governor for the state police has ordered body cameras by spring of 2021, and I know Michigan City has body cameras. How does it work for LaPorte County Sheriff's Department?
Well, that's very interesting, and that's a good topic, and I'm glad you brought it up because, again, it helps trigger my mind with stuff. The sheriff is absolutely in 100% in favor of body cameras. I personally, I can't say I'm 100% in favor of them, and my principle is based on this. Where did we as a society, and I'm just going to throw this out there, and I want you to think about it. Where did we as a society quit taking the word of a professional law enforcement officer who has nothing to gain? And we started taking the word of a career criminal who has everything to lose. Where do we as a society start doing that? Our police officers today have to wear cameras because nobody believes them anymore. Nobody believes a law enforcement officer anymore. They believe the criminals. So now our officers have to wear a camera. And that's sad that we as a society have gone to that. Another problem I have with body cameras, and I'm going to be 100% honest, and I'm all about being efficient and fiscal responsibility with your tax money, and that's the cost of them, Lance. We've been looking at body cameras at the sheriff's office for a while, and a lot of them are kind of the same. There's different models out there with everything. But for us to get started at the sheriff's office to equip our patrol division with body cameras for the first 5 years, anybody want to take a guess how much that's going to cost? $625,000. That's for the first 5-year agreement. And they'll replace a camera if one gets broken or anything like that. After that 5 years, do you want to know what the cost is per year to the taxpayers? $125,000 a year. That includes storage, and the storage is the biggest cost of all that because that's a lot of data that's being stored in the cloud. Storage, maintenance, warranty, licensing agreements. Okay, and I said, okay, after that 5 years, when that first 5-year warranty is up, what happens if one of our officers breaks a camera because they're out in the heat, because they're out in the cold or in inclement weather? The camera fails. Things break. It happens. He gets in a tussle with a bad guy and the camera gets broke. Okay. Who's responsible for that camera now after the first 5 years? Well, the taxpayers are going to be responsible for that. So that's the biggest issues I have with body cameras. I'm not 100% sold on them, but I think we as a nation are seeing more trends. I know the state police superintendent, Doug Carter, was absolutely against body cameras, but he's doing what he's being told to by the governor. So that's why the state police are moving to body cameras. Yes, sir. You're absolutely right. And you ask any police department who has them, including the Michigan City Police Department, and their officer complaints have plummeted. Complaints against the officers by people who would say he treated me poorly, he cursed me out, he called me a bad name, he abused me. They look at the body camera and it's not there. And people know that the Michigan City Police Department has body cameras, so they don't act up as much as they used to, and the complaints that would used to come in prior to body cameras isn't no longer there. So there are some positives out of it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Jenny. That great question. And I know a lot of departments have started it. We've implemented it at the sheriff's office. I was just in one just not too long ago in which Angie Nelson Deutsch hosted. Were you there at the Michigan City Police Department when she held that? No? Okay. Oh, what are we at the sheriff's office, police departments doing on bias training? And we're seeing more and more and more of it. And it's something that obviously we didn't do 20 years ago, but there's a lot we didn't do 20 years ago. We're seeing it more. We're going to be doing a heck of a lot more of it, and it's going to be common practice, just like a lot of the other mandated training we have to do, whether it's go out to the range to shoot our guns, go out to the driving track to drive our cars every year, to get refreshed on stuff, and on a lot of the other stuff. That's a good question. Yep. Anyone else? No? I'm getting off the hook. That was easy. And look, I didn't even take up the whole hour and a half. So again, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Jessica.
Okay, do we got any other closing questions? What do you think about our first hybrid meeting? Do you think it was all right? I think it went okay. How about you guys online? Do you think it was all right?
Great meeting. Much.
I liked it.
Yep.
Wonderful meeting, Jim.
I got the chance to be a mutual Sarge, so virtual Sarge, which is not the same as being a virtuous Sarge.
Yeah, you virtually a Sarge. I got that. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. We'll be meeting again in a week. Do you have a speaker for us yet? Okay, we'll be announcing the speaker next week, and then we'll again have another hybrid meeting. So see you all in a week. Thank you.